great. Then we learned that it had been made from the human bodies of the Jews that they had executed and had used their bodies to make soap and fertilizer and things like that out of. So we dumped the soap in a hurry. And then I saw one or two lampshades come in that they said was made out of human skin from the Germans, from the Jews that were in the concentration camps. And I did visit one of the concentration camps, and it was pretty bad. I can't really tell you how bad it was, but it was. But on July the 4th of 1945 this was, 1945, July the 4th, we were having a softball game. And I was down there at the softball game, and the orderly, first sergeant sent the orderly down after me in. And I went up to the orderly room to see what was going on, and he says, "Get your stuff together, you're shipping out this afternoon." And where am I going? Well, he told me 1851st Infantry Reorganization Detachment, so blah 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 blah. And so another guy and I were tagged to be transferred out. So we wound up in the Black Forest. I'm trying to think, it's somewhere close to Heidelberg, and I've forgotten the name of the town, but it was somewhere close to Heidelberg. And came out of the forest and into a meadow, and in this meadow was hundreds of pup tents. There they had some pyramidal tents set up for the mess hall and this and that and the other thing, but we set up our pup tents, and we were in this staging area then for 2 or 3 days. The 1851st Infantry Reorganization Detachment consisted of about 1,800 men, and it was a self-contained combat team. They had everything in it, and all of them were men that were battle hardened and had been through the mill. And we didn't know too much about where we were going, but we knew that we were heading for Camp Lucky Strike at Le Havre, France. And we were divided up into what they called reception center groups. And since mine was Leavenworth, Kansas, I had about 55 men under me that I was a ranking non-com, and we had a second lieutenant over us, and the second lieutenant hadn't been overseas very long. He was pretty much of a tenderfoot, so we didn't see much of him. He just turned it over to me, and so we convoyed then all the way from there in Germany near Heidelberg to up through Luxembourg and Belgium, and then down to Camp Lucky Strike at Le Havre, and found out then that we were getting ready to be shipped back to the States. But the thing was, we were being shipped back to the States for the purpose of training to go into the invasion of Japan. See, Japan had not been, the battle was still raging there in the Pacific. So sometime the last week or so of July, we boarded a Liberty ship and left the port of Le Havre, France, and headed toward the good old USA. Now I've been over there 30 months now, and I don't know, several days sailing, I don't know how many, but it was so hot below the deck that I slept up on the deck, up topside, and I was up there the morning that America came in view, and we landed at Hampton Roads, Virginia, and that's where we came ashore, was Hampton Roads, Virginia. There a day or two and got oriented, and then we got our group together, and we were heading for Leavenworth, Kansas then. we were supposed to have about a 33-day